I can see that Rose is becoming a bit impatient since Mr. Aga was already talking about the regional dimension. Since you, Rose, who is the next speaker, is the Secretary General of East African Local Government Associations. Tell us a bit more what that means, what AFRICITIES mean for the region, the East African region, and how it can really empower maybe what Raf had called for the network of intermediary cities in the region. So over to you, Rosa Gamwera.
Thank you very much, Remy, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to the participants on this call. I want to really thank you for having invited me to be part of this very valuable conversation around our intermediary cities and around our AFRICITIES. I must say that as a person working in the East African region, we really feel proud that Kisumu has taken on this great responsibility of hosting us come May in Kisumu. And the beauty of it for us at the East African region is the fact that we're going to showcase the capabilities that come with having empowered local governments, but more so going within the theme of the AFRICITIES events and the theme of today, the fact that there is an intermediary city that has something to show in terms of what it's able to do. If it can host AFRICITIES, what much more can it bring on board in terms of the expected service delivery agenda? So definitely intermediary cities are at the heart of what we do in the region. And of course, I'll talk a little bit more about county and local governments, as we call them in East Africa. What we are doing as an umbrella body for the national entities that represent counties and local governments in East Africa is leveraging from the whole discussion of making sure that the ESC policies and protocols are responsive to we, the county and local governments, and what we have to offer. Remy and colleagues on the call, we must not forget that cities and local governments are indeed a product, but also an avenue through which our governments get to deliver on their charter to the people, in terms of development agenda, as well as governance systems. So we should not be leaving the cities alone, and this is our message at the regional level. We are telling the member states, particularly in the ESC region, and hoping to cascade that message up to the Africa level, that we are supposed to be partners in this process. Your regional policies should be able to make it possible for the devolved entities to deliver on them, because, for example, in the ESC, they're talking about a people-centered development process. And where are these people? These people are in the cities, they're in the intermediary cities, and they're in the rural. So the fact that we have intermediary cities on the scene amplifies the importance of the linkages. You are going to cross from the city, big cities, metropolitans. You will end up, as you transit with your goods and the people are moving in the region to grow development, and end up in the rural, where the last person you're looking for in the integration agenda rests. So definitely we find that this whole trajectory has to be placed on table. You have to have the representatives as part of the regional discussion and dialogue, and therefore take it forward. I will revert back to what the role of intermediary cities, particularly within the context of AFRICITIES and today's theme. How are they relevant for the Agenda 2030, Agenda 2063? But also, I'll bring it down to our interest, agenda of the ESC. We believe that if they are empowered, if they're given the right policy frameworks in terms of empowered, the previous speaker talked about the devolution policies. We must be able to invest to make sure that these are working for the cities if we are going to get the expected deliverables for them. So we want the governments to remember that, and I hope AFRICITIES can really amplify that we need the strong commitment and involvement of our governments to make what we have to deliver as cities and local governments possible. We need to make sure that they have the right resources. We've talked about the fiscal resources. We know that with regional development agenda, there are issues around matters that affect our fiscal decentralization policies. Some tariffs have to go away. means loss of revenues. So we need to work with these cities to make sure that there are alternatives to those funds that we may lose, or even better, funds to be able to respond to things like infrastructure development. I know, for example, in the ESC, there's a lot of infrastructure development going on to build connectivity. Roads are happening, but we are working on the region and national roads and kind of forgetting the city and local government roads. Can we factor this? Because it enriches. You will need to get to the last part of the rural, to get the food from there, to get the person, the labor you'll need to come on board to grow your industries from the rural. So you need to build these linkages. And where you're going to make that the epicenter, the intermediary cities. Incidentally, when you observe the growth, these kind of they come through a natural process. When people move and settle in an area, then somehow it grows and develops. If I look at the Ugandan situation, we had the villages, they became town boards, they became towns, municipalities, and today we are talking about cities. We've come up with 10 new cities. So this evolution speaks to the process of development, which should not be forgotten at the regional level when they're working out the regional development agenda, right up to scaling it to the global development agenda. So we need to work around the intermediary cities because we are looking for the industries to grow development in the region. The intermediary cities provide these facilities. Can we make sure that the facilities are appropriate and responsible to these industries? The markets, the growth of the region is dependent on the products being able to be sold across the region. So the markets are going to be found in the intermediary cities, most probably as the areas closest to the people. You're going to find issues of employment. People are supposed to move freely and get employment. But when they move freely and to get this employment, the first stop will be that intermediary city because it is affordable, because it's quickly accessible. So we need to invest in these intermediary cities to make sure that they speak to the purpose for which the people are presenting themselves for in terms of need, but also for which the region, the member states, the governments expect the contribution to come from local governments. So basically, I think the message is well crafted for AFRICITIES and for this call. And I can't wait but to hear a little bit more from the paper presenters on what is on ground that we need to work out with. I liked the areas that Mr. Tufts touched on, because this is what we speak to as ECLGA, issues of policy integration, very vital. The urban policies, actually, that's one area. We need to come up with solid urban development policies. Kind of because of the ad hoc way through which our cities seems to be coming up, we tend to found them in the key devolution policies, and we tend to forget that we need to carefully craft the urban spatial planning and development processes. We need to remember the physical planning, and we need to remember the issue of partnerships as being very, very critical, because when we talk about territorial development, everybody has a role to play in that territory, and we have all forms of actors in there, which equally the ESC as a region within which we work also kind of flags as high when they're talking about their consultative dialogue frameworks that bring on board partners, civil society, and private sector. So there's a lot we can discuss, and I'm looking forward to the continuation in this call, but also to AFRICITIES. I will say on behalf of Kisumu as well that we can't wait to have you in Kisumu and further unpack this whole subject. I thank you.